in assessing information and sources, opportunities for professional development. The lack of representation in decision-making positions further exacerbates, I beg your pardon, these challenges. Now, despite these trials, many women journalists in Nigeria demonstrate resilience and determination, making significant contributions to the field. But today, we shall be looking at breaking barriers, the challenges and triumphs of female journalists in Nigeria, and we will be doing this with our own very own, the face you get to see every day on the screen. Well, she's a significant woman championing the matters as regards or relates to the female gender out there. She's no other person than Joy Asonye, president of Nigeria Female Journalist Networks, Nigeria.
Thank you so much for that. Good evening.
Good evening. How do you do?
It's wonderful to be here, ladies.
Look good.
Yes. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
All good.
Thank you.
So how is the economy treating you? The Tinubu's regime, everything?
Well, and you know, as a journalist, very often nobody gets to ask you this question. You're just one putting it out there, and nobody really often knows the stress and struggles you have to go through. You know, but it's good to have somebody ask me. The economy has been biting. It has been biting, and you know, it's not been as seamless for the rest of the world, the rest of Nigerians. I beg your pardon. However, it's not easy for journalists as well. So yeah, it's been biting.
You know, I was discussing with a friend yesterday who I went to see, and she was like, we were just talking about enumerations. I said, she said, you must be doing well, and they pay you a lot, and you do this, and you should have all this. And I'm like, my dear, it's not the way it seems.
I think because of the kind of work that we do, we know the pressures of looking good. You leave your stress behind, you know, because when you come into people's homes, I mean, on screen and all, they must not see the weight of the world in your face, because that's what they're already facing. And you know, all these things we do not take into cognizance when you see a journalist. You do not know that it's blood, sweat, and tears to have her come, or him, right? I'm sorry, Female Journalist Network. I'm always going to be talking about her. However, it takes blood, sweat, and tears to have that journalist go through the news. Sometimes it is very dire, very gruesome. We go through all of this. No mental health intervention. If anything, we are advocating for others to get other remuneration for others. We're always talking about how to better the next person. We forget ourselves. I remember somebody was saying, you know what, let's have a female journalist network mental health outreach. And I'm like, fantastic idea. We're the ones, if news breaks now, there are some people who will call the journalists before they remember, oh, law enforcement.
That's true.
And then you come see those gruesome pictures, those very gruesome scenes. And sometimes you go through the newspapers, like I do sometimes. I do newspaper review sometimes. And when you go through the newspapers, you're reading it out there, and you're reading the dire situations that some Nigerians are in. But you keep with a smile because you are an unwelcome guest to somebody's home. That person does not really need to see a bleak future. You're also pressured to have the Nigerian image a certain way, you know. So the pressures are there, and people need to know what it takes to be a journalist. A journalist who must, you know, forget everything that's going on. How do you forget that you paid 690 naira per liter? Sometimes even with difficulties, I can tell you many times where I could not get fuel. I parked my car somewhere, got the next car because it's a live program. You have to. What would you tell viewers?
The show must go on.
The show must go on. So you leave your vehicle there, praying to God that hoodlums do not attack it or even steal the car. But the show must go on. It is in the studio smiling, but man, oh man, the things on your mind, but nobody really thinks about that. So it's good to have me here to talk about what the economy generally is doing, and it's not funny.
You know, earlier today I was speaking with a colleague, and I was like, so you have to go on that show and you put on a smile despite what is going on here currently. So it's just like you said, it's not easy for everyone out there. Sometimes this narrative of the journalist does well for herself or himself, or this perspective that once you're in the media space, you're a rich man, a rich woman, you know, it sells out so easily. And sometimes
because
we
no
need to
matter
just,
what happens, Victoria, see how well you're dressed. You look like $1,000,000. You look, I mean, look at how well dressed you are. You look like $1,000,000. Who would believe that you're struggling to go above minimum wage? No, you know. And a lot of us, yes, a lot of us are like that. And just like you said, you must put on that beautiful face and all of that. But it has to do with what we have positioned our mind to. You know what? I'm going to look good. I'm going to dress well. I'm going to work on my diction. I'm going to ask intelligent questions. I have to do my research. It is not funny. It is not funny. But it's exciting too. It is very exciting.
It's a lovely job, a lovely profession, and everyone who is intentional about the growth of the economy, the growth of the nation, should perhaps practice the profession in a way. So let's not say it's difficult totally in a way. Okay, so recently, let's now move to our topic of discussion. Recently, I was chatting with someone, an elite or a professional when it comes to journalism. It's like, Victoria, why do you think we do not have pronounced female names any longer in journalism, especially when it comes to field reporting and the rest? Most times you find these female journalists on screens and they are not out there maybe doing the reporting as it used to be in the past. I was like, really, I thought about it for a while. I said, well, I'm here, but really, let's say in the next 5 years, will I be here, right? So to some extent, he made a point. So I'm asking you that question this evening.
Okay, so I have several folds to the answers to this question. First of all, it got dangerous. It got very dangerous to be a journalist in Nigeria. It got to a point where to be a journalist, you would know that bullets could be coming your way, which is not something that was very, very rife as at the time when we had strong female journalists. It got dangerous, and there was no intentional support and protection for the journalists, where you see that these bullets were not just coming from people who were perpetrators of evil or crime rather, but sometimes law enforcement. These are people who you should be so sure to get protection from. Let me tell you something that happened, and that person that did not know I was a journalist, and I share this all the time, and it has to do with the society that we live in. And it's not only the journalist sector or the media sector that is suffering, having female push or rather female out there shown to be doing the best that they can. It seems like women have decided, you know what, this isn't for me. You know how nurturing we can be. Some time ago, I was driving past. I'm a woman. Everybody should know how vulnerable any woman can be. However, I was driving past a certain street somewhere in Maitama, and I missed my way. For some reason, the Google Map watch was not helping. And lo and behold, I saw a policeman just by the corner. Apparently, I was parked in front of an embassy, and that's where the policeman was. So I drove near him, and I said, "Excuse me, sir, I'm trying to locate this street." And he said, "Move, keep moving. This is an embassy. You cannot be seen in this premises. Keep moving." That shook me to my very core. The Nigerian policeman, who knows I am Nigerian, or let's say I am just somebody in Nigeria, a resident in Nigeria. I am paying taxes to ensure that he keeps that uniform on. He doesn't even know why he's a Nigerian. He's a Nigerian, a policeman. We keep telling our children, should you be in need of help, look for the next policeman. It doesn't work here. It does not work here. I'm not saying they are all the same, but listen to this. Think for a split second, if in Switzerland, that was the embassy that I think that was that thing happened. Think for a moment. Okay, let me use any other country. Think for a moment if you go to Canada right now, and you're a Nigerian in Canada, you approach a policeman, no matter where that policeman is. Think for a moment if he will not try to give you help. But these people are more concerned about, oh, please move. Oh, they try to be more Nigerian than them. They want to secure in the fear that, oh, okay, we're trying to protect the foreigner that is around. You can miss your way all you like. You can be in trouble all you like. That man did not give me a moment, and I parked my car. Yeah, I can be radical like that, but yeah, I did that. I parked my car and said, you have to attend to me. I am the one whose taxpayers' money pays your wearing this uniform. Attend to me. What can I possibly be doing? Frisk me if you want, but please help me. So that's the problem we face.
Okay.
And it is not because it is in the media sector. I'm just saying that is the problem. That's the Nigerian law enforcement still has that structure that the colonial masters gave us. And so they cannot be seen to be civil and relate to us.
Yeah,
So,
Nigerians.
and unfortunately, these are the same people who want trust. How can I trust somebody I cannot relate with?
Yeah.
How can I trust you with information that will probably help the entire nation, but I can't relate with you? So that is what the Nigerian female journalists started facing. The field work became very dangerous. I remember some people who were going for, an NGO was sponsoring some ad hoc staff to certain parts of the country at some point, and they were like, okay, they would like to have media out. It was difficult to get female journalists to go. And that is exactly the reality of it. And then economic challenges got to a lot of passionate media practitioners, female media practitioners. I can count top of my head how many left the profession. These are strong women who could have added so much value in the media space. But yeah, you know what? This isn't paying. And this complicit nature that the Nigerian society has, it's almost like they have this entitlement mentality. I'm not saying all of them, but there's this entitlement mentality. Something happens, it doesn't concern you how that journalist got there. Just come cover it already. Some of them, you all know, I mean, I love field. I could stop doing reports, but I can't help myself. I just like to be out there. I even do Vox Pop sometimes. So yes, if anybody sees me out there, I love doing what I do. But that's what it is. You cover events and you're even not taking the rate card, your organization's rate card. But please, I paid transport to be here. They act as if it's your job. You should pursue news. Pursue news how? How do I pursue news tomorrow if I can't even fund my going back from your event place? So there's this entitlement mentality towards journalists and media that is very unhealthy. Somebody needs to have a conversation. I remember a media house one time, having, if you cannot pay for our events, we cannot come. But then again, when you think about it, to keep you also relevant, you need the content. So we are always in that very tight, literally a tight corner where should I pursue money? Should I pursue content? And so that is it.
But it might not really be necessarily, for instance, the person's fault. Okay, now, so there's recently a situation that took place. I'm sure you're aware of it because it took the intervention of so many, perhaps, stakeholders to come up for the release of a certain editor who had just even resigned from his platform following a publishment of certain information or news. I'll read some of it. He said, in view of the latest development regarding Agbi and Mila's story and the stance of the company's management, I hereby tender my resignation as the general editor of First News. I'm calling the news because it's a public information. Yes, so it has become imperative for me to resign my appointment for the safety of my person and my family. However, I want to state that no distant time the truth will come out and then it will be my word against theirs. I hope the management of First Media Network Limited, the publisher of First News newspaper, will be magnanimous enough for to fully settle the 1 year outstanding salaries I am being owed in no time. So why I'm saying this is because of the fact where you mentioned that maybe a certain journalist will come and say, if you don't pay for the event, I'm not coming. Sometimes these are platforms in which journalists used to survive despite pushing out for the truth out there. And like you could imagine one working with a media organization and not being paid for a whole 1 year.
That's even we've read about worse. We've read about several media organizations that will not pay you. And so you are at the mercy of what they tag us as hunters for blue, what's it called now? Brown envelopes.
Okay,
Yeah.
yes. Cola, not.
Yeah.
Qua.
Yeah. Kwa. You know, that's the problem we face. We have several. In fact, 1 year is quite it's short if you ask me. But where do we go? For a very long time, I was what they call a contract staff in a government-owned media organization. That's, if I tell you my story in the media, you will know that the passion that drove me is not for children, like my people will say. It's not for children. However, for a very long time, I was being paid as low as a contract staff in that media organization. I was being paid 19,500. In fact, it's supposed to be 20,000, but VAT took the 5,000 out of it. So I was paid 19,500, and I was paid that for about 4 years.
No promotion.
At the time, I'm a contract staff,
Okay,
so no
yeah,
promotion, no leave, no incentives, no allowances, nothing. And at the time, interestingly, I had a car. I feel if I have to fill my tank, I fill it with 15,000. I always laughed because I will fill my tank for 15,000 and I'm paid 19,500. And I mean, what's your take home? It was the passion that was driving us, and a lot of us, that's what's really, really driving you. So how then do you make money without following ethics of the profession? Of course, because then something now comes up. Oh my goodness, you're not following the ethics of your profession. Oh, they remember to tell you how the principles of the profession. You're putting money above everything. You're putting, and they forget that it is really tough. Media organizations are not helping too. You're just mentioning one person. There are several who work in media organizations with editorial policies or editorial leanings that goes against your investigative journalist prowess. Now, you're excited to unravel this ill in the society. In your excitement, you go digging. All you have to do is get your story to your editor, and he looks at it twice and says, it won't fly. It won't fly.
Recently I was at the INEC Commission, and they were having like a consultative meeting with media professionals, and they were like, in terms of the issue of fake news and the continual rise of malinformation, because when you go out, you come to an event, you see what happened, but the next minute the story changes, and they were trying to like look at what happens, and many people are just like, the editorial policy of my company, the editor on decks will change the story, will change the narrative, and we see that often out there, and it's sickening.
Very. But would you blame them too? Because a lot of them, I don't think I can count up to 2 top media organizations that are not owned by politicians. What are we saying? It's like we want change, as we are very myopic about our need for change. It's like we're not seeing well. I can count how many media organizations are owned by businessmen. And even at that, they all have editorial leanings. So now tell me for a split second, just think about it. If, for instance, some minister now is your friend, that's, first of all, you already know that by that, you probably have an account in that office. Or if they need to have jingles there, that ministry will give you that jingle. And if you need to have the ministers, whatever you need within the purview of the, you have an account. I'm very specific about an account where there's nothing they want to do around the media space that your media organization, you will not be called. And then some reporter now decides to unravel something about that ministry. Please think about it now. I beg for a minute, to those at home listening to us right now, for a split second, think about it. That's exactly what journalists in Nigeria face. So that principle, that ethics that excites you in the university, you want to come do your work, you want to bring good governance, you want to be a social advocate.
I remember being slapped during the protest in Bida in Niger State, when there was this crisis. I went out to report it from my then station, radio station where I was working, and the talks came. They slapped me. It took the mercy of God for me to leave.
Still
No, that passion was there.
Yes.
And But it just, as the day unfolds, it's as though there's no need.
We get overwhelmed. It's natural actually that to get a bit overwhelmed, because even the things you struggle to put in there, you expose, you expect change, right? That's why you expose. That's why you put your life on the line. Let's talk about the journalist here who there's Daniel Ojuko, that's his name,
Yes,
Daniel Ojuko, for instance, who put out an expose, something the world should celebrate, something Nigeria should say, thank you for exposing that. You budget for a school that isn't a school. You give that what's it called now? The project now to be done by a restaurant. You know, that was something all of us should be hailing him for. That's something Nigerians should be backing him for. But whose name would be called is now going to be the problem, because, and if Victoria is culpable in this whole mess, and this journalist exposes Victoria doesn't even need. She doesn't even need to come out and give a statement like it is required in other parts of the country where you want your name clean or in a clean slate. Victoria does not need. Her village people, who are already excited that she's holding that position, who, by the way, are not benefiting a dime from her being there, not in project, not in resources, not in capacity building, not in trainings, nothing for the youth in her constituency, would now start a narrative that, oh, first of all, you're attacking people from certain parts of the country. Oh, you are attacking her because she is from our side. She's our person. Oh, we will not let it happen. Another person had done it and nobody said anything. So why her? So that's the country we live in. People who are deprived of the commonwealth of their own country would come in your support. Media organization, media practitioners who should hail their colleague who has brought this who has exposed this, who should be celebrated. Media practitioners, some of them reputable, would come on air with the platform that they have, with the kind of, traffic that they also pull, will come condemn and pick holes in your activity. That is where we live in, because maybe, allegedly, maybe they too have been bought, but it still goes round to the economy. We talk about vote buying, and I laugh. All of us here, our vote can be bought. Because look at you, by the time it's like, who he help is what, a lot of us who are campaigning, say no to voter inducement, all of us here can be bought. So it's affecting the journalists, it's affecting the media space as well. And that is why you will see brazenly, if a media organization does not pay her staff for a year, sure, you go vex, go. Because if I advertise for a media space in this organization, you will be surprised the 1,000 that will come for that space, knowing, having even read this. Just because we have a teeming youth population that actually want to make a difference. I feel like our country we're intentionally pushing these young people into crime.
All right, a lot still to be said. I'm sure viewers, you're enjoying this discussion today, because I'm enjoying it myself. But let's quickly go on this break. When we return, Engendered continues. Stay with us.
Please, girls, let's be fast with our chores. It's almost time for Engendered. Girls, it's time for your favorite program, Engendered. Yeah, Mommy, we're coming right away. Sophia, turn off the gas. What are your fears as a woman? And what are your doubts as a lady? You think you're alone with those thoughts? Then welcome to Engendered, where we bring you discuss, interviews, previews, experiences, opinions, and issues relating to the female gender. This is Engendered.
My name is Sheila BCFR, the Black Comedian of the Federal Republic. I tell you, when it comes to the best of entertainment, the best of news, the best of information, something that is educative, you're right here at the best place to see that. It's KAFTAN TV. You know what? Increase the volume. Keep watching. Don't touch the dial, okay?
It's your girl Nkechi Blessing Sunday. I want you all to keep watching KAFTAN TV.
Please keep watching KAFTAN TV. It is the best TV station in the country. They're doing an amazing job. Please do not touch the dial. Keep watching. Thank you.
My name is Sheila BCFR, the Black Comedian of the Federal Republic. I tell you.
Welcome back, esteemed viewers. This is still the Engendered show, and the topic for discussion before the break is breaking barriers, the challenges and triumphs of female journalists in Nigeria. We've been discussing this wonderful topic with our amiable guest in the studio, Joy Asonye. Now, let's talk about the social media space. Now, you agree with me that being active on social media is an integral part of journalism, but then there are challenges, there are barriers that journalists face on the social media space. What are these barriers, and how can these barriers be surmounted by journalists?
Okay, so I think in the Nigerian context, we have not really looked at how the social media can be of help to us, because there are several ways and tools right there that will help you with so much fact checking, meeting an audience, like we just mentioned, how some conventional media organizations all have their editorial leanings, and sometimes you can't express yourself as well as you would have, but the social media space is a two-headed sword. It has beaten some people. However, I feel like we journalists should do more. I can bet my bottom dollar that a lot of Nigerian journalists, some of us are not influential on social media because we have decided not to delve into that part. We're not tech savvy enough. Only a few of us are accidental influencers or accidental in getting that crowd. We're so used to being conventional. And the Nigerian space is asking for more. The Nigerian contemporary young person is not asking, the young people who are on social media are not asking you to come and be talking about rice farmers, the market. No. They want in real time what is going on and analysis that reverberate their realities. And that is the problem we have. We are still very, I beg your pardon, NTA in our reportage.
But isn't that why, sorry I interjected, but isn't that why we have device to, when it comes to misinformation?
Good. That's a wonderful one. Do you know that I can report one thing in two ways? Like I said, we need to get contemporary. We are dealing with people with the smallest attention span. So I sit here telling you how there was a bomb blast somewhere. I would change channel. But I'm talking about the contemporary news where you are doing selfies with this. Do you understand what I'm trying to paint? Where you're engaging people already to say, see what is going on. Are you there yet? Can you retweet yet? We have not infused ourselves with what the social media is. There are lots of tools that could actually help you and I. But we have not been very intentional about it. Some of us who learned media through the old media terrain, sometimes I on my show, sometimes I watch other people's shows and I'm like, I don't know if you've both noticed, if you watch some shows that are very, very popular, a lot of times it's because the journalist, it's punditry. The journalist brings out his opinion. We have not learnt that. Very often, like we were taught in school.
Yes.
If you knew so much, why did you bring a
opinion.
resource person? That is it. You
Yes.
don't have an opinion.
Yes.
Bring out the fact and let the person talk. Now, the popular one is that you go there and you see a journalist very, very strongly, you know, pushing his opinion right there. And sometimes I sit back and like, this might not feel right to me, but this is the future of journalism.
Right.
But that is what the people want.
But should it be allowed though? Because you're a journalist.
It
You're
is
supposed
the future of journalism. That is the conversation we should sit down and have. The conversation as to how do we marry this new way of journalism that appeals to the kind of audience that we have, and then marry it into our ethics, the principles that guide the profession. Because that is unfortunately what I'm seeing. Check out every influencer who is popular. You must be controversial. That's not how I was taught journalism. Because I don't want to smear somebody's name. The kind of journalism I learned, I must not smear anybody's name to get clicks. But that's what's appealing to people. And so we have gotten into the fray. We've forgotten, and a lot of people who still, very few by the way, who still practice journalism as it should be. If you notice, they are not popular on social media. They are not popular on social media.
That's true.
So we need social media, but we need to get that balance that does not necessarily is pushing calumny, misinformation, fake news, but appeals to the kind of traffic that is there now.
But do you think it's achievable in Nigeria?
Exactly.
with the
It is
challenges
very
of-
achievable. It is very achievable. I don't want to advertise international channels right now, but just take a moment and see those international channels on internet, on social media. They are putting their tags, their handles there. They are communicating in real time as they are on phone. See, it's so casual now that as we are talking here, you could just be like, can you beat that? This person just sent me this message. Hi there. You are communicating and engaging.
But-
that is the appeal that
But that promptness to wanting to send the information as soon as it gets to you, I think it's an issue in itself. Because now I'll give you an instance. I was at an event where the speaker said something, and before we know, we saw it online. But it wasn't what the speaker said.
there are two things you're saying right now. One is the spontaneity of this issue is out and is already out. Second is the fact that that information was twisted.
Yes.
So which is concerning? Is it the fact that it was spontaneously out?
Both,
It was
yeah.
spontaneous, and then it
It
wasn't
was, and it was twisted.
Yeah.
I want to understand why you have a problem with having it in real time, because that is, we need to be very careful. If you want to make money and be relevant,
I
you
know,
need to-
I know. News
you
has
need-
to be timely.
No, forget
Yes.
news. You're still
Yes.
in 1980. I'm talking about information.
Okay.
Information. They want to, nobody has the time.
But any information that isn't factual, should you consider that a viable information?
That's another kettle of fish. That is another kettle of fish. Because Nigerians, we always, we have this knee-jerk way of doing everything. Like I said, the social media is a two-edged sword. And frankly, it doesn't have to be banned.
Yeah.
It could be regulated to some extent. I've been pushing for some sort of sit down with how we should see a sane marriage between the social media and the conventional media. What is stopping us from being the champions of this on social media? The conventional media houses that know the principle of journalism. We are leaving these people who are seeking prime time information, premium time information. We're leaving them to people who would just tweet anything or write anything, because those who should know better are not on that space, are not very active on that space. So we're leaving them, and that's the truth. If you do not champion, and if you do not tap into that space, you'd let anything goes. Now let's talk about misinformation. How many people have been prosecuted for all the unverified misinformation and fake news that they pushed? What would deter anybody? What would deter anybody? There's very little that our judicial
let's not
system...
forget that misinformation could even cause violence, crisis, and the likes.
And look at how volatile Nigeria is at the moment. I mean, there's economic tension, there is security tension and all of that. And then there's misinformation to deal with. My question is, if the government is very intentional, look at Google. Google gives you tools for verifying facts. All the social media platforms are trying to verify facts. But you know how we are. Push it out there. If you do not push and push and push. Recently, I read about a gentleman who had to openly apologize, and I think he was arrested because of the misinformation he placed out there. Something about some gospel singer's child. I don't know if you people stumbled on that. I'm sorry, I'm not really very, I'm very political. So when it comes to entertainment and all that, I'm not very up to date with the stories. But I was excited that happened because because I saw that link redirected me to the confidence he used to talk about that child not being there. That child is not your own. How come? Is it Chinwe's? Yes. How come this child looks like Bassi? Yes. How come it looks like, hey, he must go and do a DNA? And I'm like, who's giving you these gods? Who is giving you these gods? And then I think he was charged. And that is what we need to see.
But he's not a journalist, right?
He's not a journalist.
Now,
and everybody now
the thing here is that misinformation from journalists are being taken serious. Yes. You get, compared to any other people.
Naturally.
Everybody now become journalists.
You need to understand that what the social media has done is give a platform for everybody to express themselves, which is not necessarily a bad thing, because in that social media we have used the opportunity to right some wrongs. We must admit that. However, everybody now needs a journalist. The ethics that stops you from posting gruesome pictures. I saw recently, even one of the mainstream media organizations was posting a minor who supposedly, allegedly committed a crime. And I was like, who is the editor, please? I would never dare. That's because I have gone through several trainings. You understand? Exactly. So now, who holds the journalist accountable? Because they depend on you. And it's a good thing that society depends on you for proper information. And it's concerning if this wrong information is coming from sources that you should depend on. You should be confident that as long as it is coming from Confidence and Victoria, it is legitimate information. And so when you fail, you're not just failing people, you're failing an entire society. We are too volatile. We are too volatile now to include misinformation as our problem. Because the Nigerian youth, who, by the way, 40% unemployment is going on. So the Nigerian youth are looking for something. Let's not give them crimes as something they should look up to.
All right. Earlier, when I read the background, I was talking about harassment, certain harassment that female journalists face out there. Sometimes you see when a media house wants to sell perhaps maybe a program or something, and they need maybe an influx of people to patronize in a way or give jingles and the rest, they push out the female maybe journalists or reporters, aside from marketers though, out there, because it's your beat, so you should know them. And in a way, they get harassed sexually most times, because when you ask some female journalists, when they get married, they quit instantly because it's like they fear being harassed.
The exposure that the organization
and sometimes
put them to.
You hear female that men will tell you that she's a journalist, so I can't marry her. I've heard someone has told me something like that.
I hear it all the time.
That's like bankers as well.
I hear it all the time. And frankly, we've not helped ourselves as female journalists. But let's address this issue of sexualizing the female just for it's a societal thing. It's not just in the media space, and we are not having strong journalists who should hold society, who should mold society. I tell you that what we say here would influence somebody out there. They're not just listening. We're human beings. We absorb what we hear. So it's a societal thing. It's not just in the media sector alone. We're not getting strong journalists in editorial boards. We're not getting enough strong journalists in female journalists representing in certain positions that should say this is a trend that should end here.
And even when they represent, they are just figureheads, I've noticed.
Exactly. So if we have strong journalists who know their owners and have walked through the ranks and are strong people, and they said, why is the young girl going there? Suit a man. Suit a man. Teach him English if you need to. Let him clean up his diction and go and advertise. Let him go get that. And we've not helped ourselves. I've been to places where I would not want to associate myself with the certain journalists that I find there. I see it and I'm like, if only you know who you are in society. My madam would always say, Patricia Etiese, would always tell you, do you know who you are? You're a female journalist. Meaning you talk and the world stops. If you know who you are, you will not even accept to. In fact, when they give you those jobs, you would even know who to go pick and you know, it's no longer to whom it may concern. You go knock on doors. Some people don't even understand how to knock on doors. It now seems like, okay, what would the man want? What do I have that the man would easily want? It will make my job easier. Your job shouldn't be easy. If he doesn't want what you've got, which is, I hope, is within journalism and the media, then go to the next person. It doesn't have to be that one person that will make you blow or make your program get better. But I understand the sexualization of women in journalism, and it is really unfortunate because the journalist is so used to being the one talking about the sexual harassment in workplace, the problems with growing in ranks, gender discrimination, talking about the disparity in pay. We don't get to talk about ourselves, but it does exist. And you know, when I started the Female Journalist Network, I had a lot of young people excited about a network for once that they can, you know, express themselves. And we often have meetings where, you know, we come together to talk about projects that will really impact, you know, what we should look out for when we talk capacity building for female journalists. When we have such meetings, you would be very appalled as to what young journalists, female, face in trying to just do their job. So sexualization of the female journalist is indeed a thing. It's very unfortunate, but it's a thing. But we are our problem. If you say no, I say no, and he says no, they will think of better ways to respect us. And it has nothing to do with just the media, like I said. It cuts across everything. So when you see somebody that respects himself, I'm telling you, if you come with talent, if you come with content, if you come with knowledge, and you sit across any man wherever in the world, and they are talking about issues, it will be difficult for any man to say, you know what, I want you to, you're a woman now, dress very, very appealing for the men folk and go to this office to see if they'll give us an advert or come sponsor your program. It will be very, very difficult for the man to do that. So if as soon as we start having respect for ourselves, respect for our careers, and understand the role we play in society, I think it will be. But first of all, we must look inwards. Why are we having... So sometimes it happens to me where I get to certain times, and I always wear my ring, right? I get to certain places, and in spite of the ring, somebody is talking to me a certain way. I'm like, excuse me. And I'm not asking anybody, I'm asking myself, like, is there something I have done that is making this person so comfortable to address me this way? You know? And then let's all do that.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Joy Asonye.
Thank you so much.
It's been a wonderful time talking
It's wonderful
with you.
for me too.
I learned a lot. Well, one thing
Thank
I'm
you
going
so
to take
much.
out from this studio is that you're a lady, you're a female, and when you speak, the word stops.
That's true.
All right, viewers, thank you so much. It's been wonderful talking to you, Joy Asonye. We spoke about the breaking barriers, the challenges and triumphs of female journalists in Nigeria. And she is the president of Female Journalist Network Nigeria. Thank you so much.
Thank you
All right,
very
viewers,
much.
that's where we draw the curtain on today's episode. Do well to join us same time on Thursday. We'll be back. I am Victoria Agbi.
Many thanks for joining us. Do stay tuned for more updates on KAFTAN TV. I am Confidence Rueben. Bye for now.
Thank you.